Today on the podcast, we brought on Nolan Kelley. Nolan and I were teammates at UMD before I left, and let me just start by saying the kid's a dog. I kid you not, Nolan was an actual beast in the crease. In this past season, 2022, he went off on the stat sheet. So on the show, we're going to talk about his background, his college lacrosse career, and his work with Primo Lacrosse. Nolan also sings, so we're going to talk about that as well. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. We have another guest with us here today. Nolan, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself real quick?
Hey guys, I'm Nolan Kelley. I play lacrosse at University of Michigan Dearborn and have a few other lacrosse ventures that I partake in. Excited to share about. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I know I just said this, but it's like, dude, it still feels like so long since because I remember the last thing I remember basically before I left is I remember we was on the field just grinding all the time. That shit was so much fun.
Those of you who don't know, this is Bryce, the man who assisted nearly half of my goals last year. Yeah.
So. Great times. But while we're on the subject of UMD, so why don't you start from the beginning? So tell us how you got there.
Yeah, so UMD, I decided to go to Dearborn my senior year of high school, right in the winter time. I was gonna go to Michigan Tech. Wasn't planning on playing lacrosse at all. I was gonna go to an in-state school just because it's not as expensive. So I wasn't gonna play lacrosse, and then I found out Dearborn had a team, and I was like, oh, let's do that. And then it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. Academically, I'm still able to play lacrosse, and I've gotten opportunities I never thought I would, which is cool. So, yeah, Watts, the head coach, reached out to me, and he was like, he found a blank recruiting profile that I made back in sophomore year of high school. I posted some huddle links on it. I had a profile picture, my name, and that's about it. And that's how I was discovered on.
So you just had film, he straight up just saw you from film from your sophomore year and was like, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was my junior year film, I think. It was pretty good tape, I'm not gonna lie. There's some saucy clips on there. But I made those clips and I just put literally every goal I scored. So it was probably 8 minutes long. Literally just because I could.
Sometimes it's the best way though, because then they can see every single goal you made and you're like, all right, yeah. A lot of these are good. Some of them, a little bit different, but you know that I can score.
Yeah. It was didn't need to be 8 minutes long, but I didn't. So
yeah. I know with COVID, this past year was technically your first full season at UMD because there was you came in 2020 and then COVID. 2021, there was we played for 2 months, 6 weeks, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And then this full past year. So it was a very impressive season too. You ended with you broke multiple records. You were just pounding the stat sheet. So what were your thoughts with the 2022 season?
Well, I went into it with no expectations. It had been 2 years since a full season. So you don't have any expectations. You don't know what to expect. I remember I got a first taste of it my freshman year when we went to South Carolina for spring break. Right. And that was a lot of fun. Played some good teams and I was so pumped, and then you come back and COVID. So there goes a year. And then the next season, we're thrown into the ringer with teams who've been practicing all year, only getting a week of practice. And, that sucked because it was wow, kind of put you in your place after only getting a week of practice.
Very humbling experience.
Yeah. And then 2022 comes and it's all right, season starts off a little slow. And then you start to score, and then you can really see the team get better, which was cool experience. I don't know. You know just as well, dude. You did it with me.
Yeah, no. I mean, even coming from that first year, my first year at least, we come in and it's it's the beginning of March, and they're all right, guys, so we got a week to prepare for a game. All these other teams have been practicing, and then we go in with 22 guys to our first game, just get pounced on. And so it was a little bit, like I said, it's a humbling experience. And you're going into 2022 season, and it's we had a really good fall, and then going into that spring season, we're all right, now it's time we actually get to fully play an entire season, see where we get to. So I thought towards the end, I thought we started progressing on the way up, but it was still, I just thought it was, I don't know, it's still a season that I really remember vividly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things you just keep putting those pieces together. I think like 2 full years in a row. I mean, you know, had I been a freshman and had all my seasons, it would could be a different story on where we'd be at right now. I
So
don't
like
know.
since you still have that extra eligibility, are you gonna use them? Are you gonna
Yeah,
like
so since I blew my knee this fall,
right?
I now have 3 more years to play this sport. No, I think it's going to be next year. It depends on grad school. There's a few like programs I'm working on that I could potentially go to grad school full time and work too type of situation. So we'll see.
Which is like honestly a really good segue into kind of like your working. So Primo Lacrosse, tell us about that.
Yeah, so Primo is a company I hopped on with the founder Dave Monroe.
Right.
Great guy, super smart,
Great guy.
crazy athlete, leading scorer all time at Adrian. He founded the company, um, and I hopped on as like engineering, product development,
Right.
and just a guy to run the company. But we make lacrosse shafts, lacrosse equipment. Currently working on a line of heads, um, and that's a buzzword for a lot of people. And when we talk to people online, they're like, "You guys are bringing another head to market. Good luck." And but we're kind of redesigning the way you buy lacrosse gear. Um, really reaching out to teams and getting wholesale orders type
Right.
of wholesale. It's not really the word to use, but it's okay. We're looking at like a subscription model to buy a head. So you would pay, I don't know, $75, and then every head after that would cost you $20. And you can keep getting heads because the cost of a lacrosse head, it's after your upfront cost and everything, it's like $2 a head in plastic.
Oh, dude, for sure. Like, I mean, but it must be like kind of like cool because I know you do a lot of the like creating and design work, right?
Yeah, it's my favorite part of the process is designing the heads in CAD, um, designing molds and stuff, and then talking to manufacturers. It's cool shit, man.
So would you say like y'all are still like kind of on the up, like on the uprising, like y'all started kind of like smaller and like now you're just kind of building up? Because I saw lately y'all got like a deal with like Seattle Stars or something, right?
Yeah, dude, that blew up. I've been looking at the um I get a ding for a sale. Ding, ding, ding. And I was like, damn. It went from like a here to up here in sales recently. So that's cool. Yeah. Well, that's what our goal is to do, a lot of club teams like that, CL Stars, small box teams who don't get represented, like NIL athletes who Warriors not going to give them a deal.
Right.
There's a lot more D3 schools than there are D1 schools, right? Who don't
Right.
have equipment contracts. So there is a market for it. We're still working on a business plan.
So is that like what the goal is right now? Like you're marketing towards like those lower echelon schools, like not necessarily like the
Yeah,
UNCs, the Michigans, but like the Albions, like schools like that.
yeah, exactly. Because I mean, we're not going to compete with Warrior and STX to get a D1 team's brand,
Right.
strictly just because of resources. But we can do it to every other D1, D2 NAIA school club team who wants gear at an affordable rate. That's the good gear too. That's the key. Good
So
stuff.
would you say that's what like separates you from other lacrosse companies and just the fact that y'all are going to like not just these high end schools, but like schools that kind of tend to get like unnoticed?
Yes. Yeah. It's going remarketing the way we sell it, selling it for a lot less, but getting the same quality of gear. Take a look here. Oh, here's our newest. It's just clean carbon fiber look.
Oh, that's clean.
Yeah, it's the same manufacturing method that other companies use. We use a different manufacturer who has their secrets, but
Right.
yeah, and then I don't know. Here's some of the prototype designs of the heads. These are 3D printed just for prototyping. So it's all fun stuff, cool stuff, man.
That's sick. Have you so like are y'all how close are y'all to like the testing phase before y'all start kind of like getting into the all right, now this is gonna be out in the market?
So our timeline, like, um, ideally we want like 6 months. We want to be like, getting our tooling done and getting our first shots made and then seeing what they look like. but it's a long process. But we're working with a few other companies, which is
Right.
cool. Smaller companies. Um, Me and Chris at 5 Lakhs are working on some designs together. Do you know 5 Lakhs?
I've heard of it before. Like, they're are they kind of like y'all or
Yeah, Chris made a head. It's called the clone head. It's got the open sidewall holes for
okay?
stringing.
Yeah.
So me and Chris have some fun calls where we work on design and stuff together. So it's cool.
Nah, that's pretty sick. So like besides like the heads right now, do y'all have anything like else like y'all are working on specifically?
Um, I mean, we've got a lot in the idea bin, which I think it's important to
Right.
have a lot of ideas. But like we look at a lot of different industries too, um, just like the way we manufacture things, and there's a lot of other industries to expand to because lacrosse is very niche, but other sports markets paired with lacrosse
Right.
is so we're looking at like apparel too, like team jerseys and um, trying to give the whole package to these teams.
Right.
Go to them, be like, you don't need to go to a different jersey supplier. I understand that a lot of D3 schools have like a Nike contract or
Mhm.
things like that, but a lot of them don't. So
Yeah, I mean, you get like now it's like kind of started to like spread out a little bit too, because now you're getting like adrenaline starting to do that
yeah.
stuff, and other like smaller companies that are kind of on the rise. So I mean, definitely jumping into that game now is probably like a really good stepping stone. So like 5 years down the line, like where do you kind of see Primo Lacrosse?
So like the end goal is to be able to, me and Dave have talked about this. The end goal is to be able to do it full time, right?
Right.
Run the company full time as Primo Sports, no matter what industry. It could be hockey. Um, that's what we want to do. 5 years, it's really hard to tell. You just don't know how things are going to sell. Um, at this rate, we're looking pretty linear, pretty good. But
Right.
as we start rolling out heads, that could start to climb a lot faster and other products and work on marketing a bit more.
Dude, that's sick. Like, cause like I can just imagine now, like kind of like you on like a commercial or something, like advertising like the own head that you made in a CAD lab.
Yeah, yeah. I'm the worst dude in front of the camera. I've tried it. Me and Dave are like, we need somebody in front of the camera. And I go out there in front of the camera. I'm like, oh, well, this is a head, and here's why it's good, and here's why I made it this way. I don't know. I'm not your typical like I don't know, camera guy, face of the company. We're still looking for our face of the company. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be something like you're gonna have to work on down the road. Because like I saw the video of you like shooting like that they posted on like the Instagram. I thought that was sick, but I was like, wow, I wanted to see kind of like an interview. Let's see Nolan talk.
Yeah, yeah. I'll try to roll out a video here soon. Uh, I don't want it to be too technical though. I could be like, these are carbon composite shafts made of 175 grams of.
Yeah, nah, can't do that. You gotta keep invested.
Yeah, and I'm not a marketer, so I'm not gonna be like, this is the best shaft you'll ever play with, because it's comparable to the elite level shafts for half the cost. So
Right.
yeah.
So like kind of moving, all right, so moving gears just a little bit more. So talking about other ventures that you have besides lacrosse. So tell me about the singing, the music,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, so I got a band with my sister, we call the Rusty Snails.
Right.
And that is my little passion project. Keeps me sane all through the long winters and summers. And yeah, I'm playing on Wednesday in Dearborn actually.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, it's my little passion project. Another one of those things where like if it works out, I could do it for.
How's it going, everyone? I wanted to take this time to let everyone know something cool we're doing with Primo Lacrosse. If you head over to our bio, you can see that we put the link to Primo Lacrosse website on there. Go check it out, and if you use the code Unstrung at checkout, you'll get 15% off all purchases off their website. Shout out again to Primo Lacrosse for doing this, and enjoy the rest of the video.
Forever. But
So like, I don't know. I just thought that I think that's so cool. Like you literally so you play lacrosse and then you work in lacrosse and then you also like on the side completely unrelated lacrosse you like sing. Like was this kind of like your plan going into school?
oh hell no, hell no. It was um I don't know, dude. I didn't play much music, in high school, like live or anything. But then I got to college and I was like, well, might as well. So I started playing at bars and open mics, and then I started getting on my own gigs, and then me and my sister started putting those pieces together, and
Right.
it's fun to do on a weekday or a weekend. Go to these little bars and play, or yeah. It was never nothing was planned,
Yeah.
kind of happens the way it happens.
Because it's like, I don't know, I feel like your stories is interesting because it's like you originally didn't even plan to play lacrosse in college. Now you're here. And then next thing you know, you're in a company, you're in a lacrosse company that's taking off right now. You've already started kind of like hitting that uphill climb and you're in a band too. It's like do you ever think about that? And you're just like, man,
Oh,
like it's kind of crazy where I am now.
oh, I ponder it every day. I'm like looking back a year ago, and then from that point, look back another year. Just like a lot happens. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Um, and it doesn't happen overnight, but things will just sort of start falling in line, and you'd be like, "Wow, I did that." Even like in school, and I'm happy where I am, like with engineering and everything. Um, it all just happens when it's supposed to, I guess. It's crazy. There's people who write books about this stuff, but
Because it's like, I mean, how did you find that balance? Because you were doing like all the stuff at once. First, you're an engineering student. I mean, you're a student athlete on top of that. You're working for a lacrosse company and you're like seeing on the side. Like, so there must have been some sort of like kind of finding a balance to, do all those things together, right?
oh, I'm still looking for that balance for sure. I'm still looking for I don't think it'll ever be balanced, but it's like a chaos that I thrive in, I guess. It's busy, there's not too many down moments, but
Right.
it's you just make a little schedule and then you just roll with it and it works itself out. It's yeah, I don't
It
know.
it is I don't know. I find it very like interesting because it's like you have all this stuff like kind of like moving forward and 5 years down the line, like it's like you said, like you don't really know what's coming up and at any moment, like one of those things could really blow up for you.
Yeah,
So
it's good. Yeah, it's good to be like realistic with your expectations, but you can dream a little bit, but don't, tunnel yourself down one path.
right.
Keep my options pretty wide open with what, like whatever it could be.
If you could give any advice to like, up and coming lacrosse players, anyone who's interested in doing multiple things, like what kind of advice would you give to them?
All right, so play two sports, play three sports. That's my biggest key. It's like you can have lacrosse players or you can have athletes, and the athletes are going to win every time.
Yeah.
And spend a lot of time doing what you do. Like if you're going to practice lacrosse, you got to spend a lot of time. I spent like hours in my backyard just
Yeah.
messing around, not even structured practice, which some people say is bad, but just, being familiar with the sport. It's kind of like if you go on a computer, like kids who grew up with computers
Right.
are insanely good at computers versus like an adult who jumped into the computers right when they were invented. So if you just spend more time playing lacrosse, you're gonna be really good at lacrosse. And then
Right.
as you get older, you'll start to be structured and stuff. But I was fortunate enough, like in middle school and stuff, to just spend hours and hours and hours playing and playing and playing. Then I got to high school and I realized like how to structure and actually get better. But I already had the basics. I don't know if that's good advice, but
I don't know. I think it is. I mean, like spending like I think I was always told going growing up, like find a passion, spend 1,000 hours doing it. And
yeah,
that's where you get to where you are. Cause like and like you said about the athletes thing, lacrosse being a lacrosse player is one thing, but if you can be an overall athlete, that's a completely different thing. The athletes are gonna win. That's honestly not even just like lacrosse. I would say any sport.
yeah,
If you don't set yourself to just one thing and you like you, for instance, the music, lacrosse, like give yourself different avenues, you're gonna make yourself an overall better
yeah,
athlete altogether for whatever sport you're playing. So I think that's a great piece of advice, honestly.
yeah, man. It's I played tennis. So when I say other sports, I played like tennis. Love tennis, man. Great sport. But what I lacked in tennis skill, I made up for in like athleticism.
Right.
Uh, and then I like do a lot of skiing, and so those were my avenues of sports. So
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Nolan's a big outdoorsman, so he's doing everything.
yeah, the outdoors are fun, Bryce.
I remember I remember the first time we were setting up this up and you were like, dude, I'm sorry, I was in Montana. I was like, bro,
Yes,
when did you go to Montana?
just a quick 2 week drive out there, frolic in the woods and the mountains, and then come home. Sometimes you got to do that.
No, I'm sure that was fun. Like I saw some of the footage like from like your motorcycle and everything. That was oh my gosh, that was awesome.
Oh yeah, that's world class trip right there, man.
I don't know. You might have like a career in like photography, videography too, man.
Yeah, that's an exhausting career, dude. I've thought about it, and it's a grind, being like a freelance photographer, videographer. Man, there's some talented people. Not just like talented photographers and videographers, but like businessmen. That's what you got to become.
Yeah, no, that's not my avenue. I'll leave that for other people, like you said. But any last remarks for the podcast?
Oh man. I don't know, but I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, of course, of course. I gotta come take a trip sometime soon, dude.
I know, I still never got you to Lake Superior.
We're going to Lake Superior. Like that's gonna be like an actual thing.
Gonna happen. You have to see it. It's nothing like you've ever seen. So,
Oh, must see. I'm coming up this upcoming summer after I finish season before I
yeah.
start working. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be a big deal, dude.
How are you guys looking though? How's it with your brother?
Dude, it's sick actually. Like, I mean, we see each other mainly on the field. But so like I don't even know. It's kind of like an undescribable experience. It's just like it's really cool, like being able to play lacrosse with your brother. And then on the sidelines, it's like after I score or something, it's just like, you see your brother just like, oh,
Yeah,
it's kind
yeah,
of crazy.
fire you up. Yeah, dude.
So we're looking good this year. Hopefully, conference championship is gonna be on the rise right now. So we'll see where we are. I guess we'll have to come back about was that like 7 months from now, be able to let you know how we did. But I'm
Yeah.
still rooting on my boys from UMD.
Rooting on you, man. I'm rooting on you.
Well, anyways, thank you, Nolan, again for joining the podcast today. All right, everyone, that wraps up this episode. We'll catch you next week.